Fun. Missed 3 out of 4. You flunked class.
We heard you weren't skipping tonight, so we thought we'd come.
I don't doubt that a bit. Man, I come when the police officers come. I come. I'm not getting in trouble.
No kidding.
He has his ways of finding me.
You know, that sounded completely sincere too.
Yeah, it does.
Good to see you.
He's the expert, I hear.
Just about bad things.
Trying a different setup tonight.
Yep.
Oh, Steve, bless your heart. phone, and one
Alright.
time they'll maybe talk to you. So I said, Carolyn, don't answer the phone, just let it go. She's like, I want to answer and hang up on them. I'm like, no,
Alright.
because you
We're good.
answered it, and they know you're a higher, well, that you're a higher potential for answering the phone. Which, when he said that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You know, I mean, they're like, but
I do help manage phones, so
Times you got
But it,
I have
it
to
is,
go with it.
it is.
You just turn it on and never fall asleep.
I can't.
You can't?
No, I have to take it something. It won't because HIPAA security. It limits what we can do. All right, well, we have a good class tonight. You're all here not for me, you're here for Officer John tonight. So, all right, well, welcome. This is week 4. Like, this is it. Our last 90 minutes together. I know, right? It's gonna be a little crazy. So, as promised, John is going to be here to talk more about the cybersecurity end of things. And then towards the end, if there's time, because I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions on what his role is, things that he's going to show you tonight are going to be pretty interesting. So I will, to say the least. So again, thank you for those joining online. Thank you for those in the classroom. And then I will let you plug in and
I
let you
think
go.
I'm plugged into the HDMI cable.
Okay, great. So then we should just have to hit the source or the search button on there, and it should take you to where you want to go.
HDMI 1?
Actually, it's,
Yep,
there you go. All right.
It was
so
2.
It was 2. It's like pick a number.
Hey guys, my name is John Greiner. Just a little quick thing about me. I go here to Faith. I'm a deacon here. Also, I've been in law enforcement for over 15 years. I split my time. I work for the Clinton County Sheriff's Office, but I also work on the state child exploitation, human trafficking, and then I'm also a certified instructor and helper with the National White Collar Crime Center. All that to say, this is kind of the stuff that I work on. I don't write a lot of traffic tickets anymore. I kind of deal with the zeros and ones. With that being said, there are so many areas, and you can't really be an expert in everywhere, but my goal for tonight is not to make you guys experts, give you guys a little wisdom, because my guess is if some of these scams or frauds have not happened to you, maybe a mother or a family member, but then we're gonna even do a little bit of fun, and I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to kind of get some of this information, because my guess is you guys have worked really hard most of your life to earn a nice big nest egg, and one of the goals I kind of want to do is help you keep your nest egg, because there's a lot of people out there who want to take that from you. So I'll stick around as long as I can to help you guys if you have questions. Well, there's one more. You want to come in? So I do have, we're going to do real world examples from cases that I have worked. So if you have questions at any time, just ask me. Anybody like to go camping? Who's my campers here? Anybody got an RV? Anybody know what kind of RV that is right there? That's a 2008 Puffin or Terran or whatever it is. Brand new, that's about a $90,000 RV. A lady and a husband had been saving their entire life, and they wanted to really get into the RV world. Does that sound like somebody you know, or maybe yourself? Well, they were looking on Facebook, which is always the best place to look, and they found this camper that they had been looking for at an unbelievable price, $60,000 below value. Well, they contacted the person because they're like, this is too good to be true. This has to be a scam, but everybody wants to find out for themselves, right? So they contact this lady. Yeah, I'm selling it because I need to get rid of it. My husband and I bought this last year. He passed away. We had no life insurance. I'm going to lose my house. I got to sell this today. I need $32,000 in the next 24 hours or I'm going to be homeless. Who's having a problem with this story right now? Who feels bad for this lady?
Stars are aligning.
The stars are aligning. So they go, well, we don't have a long time to sit and think about this. We better make a decision and now. So then they call her back. We'll take it. Great. Can I bring it to you? You'll bring me the RV? Absolutely. I need the money so bad. Hey, though, can you send me the check first? Yeah, we can do that. You guys are all laughing, but this happens every single day. So one of the things, the mistakes that they made, this wasn't a verified seller. So a lot of times on Facebook, now they'll start telling you if these are verified sellers. Well, do you guys think this was too good to be true? Absolutely it was. Turned out this wasn't a female who had lost her husband. This was actually a guy named Gregory Papas who lived in San Diego and was running this scheme out of a homeless shelter in San Diego. But he got $32,000 from them. Now, I don't know why he's living in a homeless shelter, because when we got his search warrant returns for his phone and everything else, he had done this scam to 10 other people. He's probably had more money than some of us in this room did. But he wanted to stay at a homeless shelter because he didn't want it to make it look like he was comfortable there. Nobody was noticing this guy. But he had probably more money in his bank account than I did. But not anymore. So what's your question?
How do you know, find and verify how do you
So
do
what
that?
you can do on Facebook, on Marketplace now, they will actually give people that can rate them, and will show you, hey, this person's rated 4 out of 5, 4.2 out of 5. And so I would look for other people that have rated these people, and then I would just also take everything with a skeptical aspect as well. That's gonna be the kind of the main bread and butter of some of these things, is be skeptical. So yeah, this was too good to be true. There were some really good warning signs on that. One, the next part that I didn't tell you guys about, when she had said, yes, let's do the deal, they were immediately passed off to another person to talk to. Now, if my wife was trying to sell something, would she hand you off to another person, to another person, to another person? Hey, you need to put the money into this bank account. You need to do it here. So that should have been a good story. The story also seemed too good to be true, that they're all lining up. These things just happen sometimes, and if you think it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Another one too is, she said that she was selling this from Warsaw, Indiana. Now, this person lived in Clinton County. How far is Warsaw, Indiana? It's not very far, right? Not too long. The area code this person was using to sell the phone number out of was out of Austin, Texas. Should that have been maybe a concern too? Absolutely. They wanted a wire transfer right now. Now, a wire transfer you can do pretty quickly, but the problem with a wire transfer is there's no getting it back. So whenever they wanted that wire transfer, like, okay, this should be a really big red flag, and then they're gonna take care of everything. Now, I don't know about you guys, but generally you have to have a little bit of skin in the game most of the time, right? If somebody tells you, we'll take care of everything, you give me the money, that's never a good sign. And then the timetable was, we have to do it right now. Pressure, pressure, pressure. So like I said, it was a very sad incident. We were able to get the person who did this scam to them, but we were not able to get their money back. The money was gone, it was moved to offshore bank accounts, and we can never get it. So the reason I'm talking about that one is everybody in here, I guess, probably has a Facebook account, right? Or some sort of social media. Mike, does everybody have one? Yeah. So this potential of something like this happens all the time and could very well happen to you guys. So I want you guys to be aware of these type of tips. Next one. This one was probably, yep.
Who do you report something like this to?
Great, we're actually gonna get to that, but the first person you need to report it to is your local law enforcement.
Okay.
And then we're gonna talk about a couple other websites that the FBI has called ic3.org, or sorry, ic3.gov, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And so those are good places to do it. Now, the FBI, they're not gonna take your call. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, they rarely take my calls. And I know a lot of them. So just realize you need to go through your local law enforcement to kind of start it. And this is another one, I actually worked this one with Special Agent Paz out of the Indianapolis field office. Couple had lost their entire retirement savings to this one. He had worked for AMVC Swine Services. Anybody know what AMVC is? They're a national company. They do a lot with pigs. So obviously in Clinton County we have a couple pigs over there. And so he was a doctor for the pig services. He had worked his whole life, and he ended up getting cancer. Very sad story. Just really couldn't, get better. And so he was slowly dying. Well, the family had brought some hospice workers in. My guess is we all probably know some situation where somebody got sick and some hospice workers got brought in, right? Where things were kind of problematic was the hospice workers were allowed access to the entire house. What ended up happening was one of the hospice workers saw the doctor's phone was laying out one day, and there was no passcode set on the phone. So she decided when he was sleeping to go into the phone and got all of his bank account information, got his user account names, his passwords, sold those to somebody on the internet, and they ended up losing $260,000 from their bank accounts. All gone. The only way we actually caught them was because they were doing large bank deposits in a bank in Alabama. So anytime you do a bank deposit or withdraw of $10,000, I don't know if Greg's the money guy around here too, they have to do what's called a SARS report. Have you ever heard of that? So you don't have to do this, your bank does. But if you give me $10,000, both of our banks have to file that with the federal government. And that was the only way we figured it out, was through these SARS reports. Anyway, one of the other problems that he had done too, and this is one of the big mistakes that he had, he was using a paper document for all of his passwords. Now, my guess is you guys all have some social media, email, maybe other accounts. Are you writing those down on a piece of paper? If you are, this is a good story of why not to. Because the other thing he had on his, or next to his phone, was a password, pretty much a piece of paper with all of his passwords on there. So the lady who had done this, all she did was took and it had the usernames and the websites. So literally he used the Farmers Bank. It said Farmers Bank, username, password. So all she had to do was take a picture of that, send it to her friend, and they started moving the money around. Also had made the passwords pretty easy. You know, I won't say what his name was, but pretty much my name's John Greiner. It was Jay Greiner, and his password was John Greiner 1. Probably not the strongest password in the world. So some of the key takeaways I want you guys to kind of think about when another case, when it comes to this, you know, you're letting people into your life, especially as you get older. Your passwords, one, should probably not be written down on a piece of paper. Now, I'm not going to make you guys raise your hands because I have a feeling probably there's somebody in this room who has passwords on a piece of paper. We're going to talk about a better way to take care of that, okay? But then another one too is you need to make your passwords a little bit more harder than your name and a number or your kid's name and a number. Because my guess is if I were to ask you guys, a lot of people around here use common passwords with either names or date of births or an anniversary. Have I hit on anybody's password yet? Yeah, probably, or a dog. If you have a dog, please don't use your dog's name. So the bad guys actually keep dictionaries, is what they're called, of common names that are used for people. The other problem too was the bank started contacting the family about some withdrawals, because you can't move $250,000 in one fall swoop. You got to do it incrementally. Well, the family wasn't picking up the phone calls because he was so sick, and they didn't really want to worry about it. Your husband's dying. Do you really want to see the Farmers Bank phone call? Well, probably not. So they were ignoring the phone calls because they were too busy taking care of him. Now that's a sad situation, and where we actually found out, or the family found out about it, was after he had passed away, she wrote a check to the funeral service for $10,000 and it bounced. She's like, there's no way it bounced. She's like, there's $400,000 in that account. And then she went online and saw it was all gone. So the bank actually was able to work back and get some of it, but the people who did this, I mean, they had pretty much moved it and then they were gone. There wasn't a whole lot of money left to recover. So some of the things I want you to take away from that case that I work is be careful with your passwords. We're going to talk about a better way to do passwords here in a little bit, but just your passwords are very important. And then also keeping kind of like a better way of your user accounts that's not on a pad of paper. And I know a lot of smart people who still keep a pad of paper with their passwords on it and their usernames. And Steve would probably echo this, not the best way to do it, right? So does that make sense to everybody so far? Any questions about kind of the quick things we've talked about?
I've even seen like at different stores, and just recently there was one in Noblesville that actually has like a notebook where you can put your password and your username and stuff in it. And I think I bought one because I know the information, but my husband doesn't. And so it's like, if something happened to me, he needs to know that stuff to get into the accounts. So.
I totally understand that. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Our
Want some of my water?
passwords, no, I just breathed wrong. Our passwords are stored by our iPhone.
Yep, they are.
Is that safe?
Well, here, I'm gonna ask you this question, maybe you can answer it yourself. Who has all the access to your iPhone? Is it you or is it Apple? It's not you, it's Apple. So Apple, if I were to send a search warrant as a police officer, let's just say you're my bad girl, and I said I want all of stuff, and if I know either your phone number, your email, or what's called an IMEI number, I can get everything on that phone.
Oh, really?
Everything, I do it all the time. Do it all the time, bad guys.
Well,
So I can get your usernames, I can get your passwords, and then if I can, well, this is getting a little out of our league here, but if I can put what's called a check rain or checkmate software on there, I can actually do everything to that phone without you even knowing about it. Now that's some pretty advanced stuff that we're not going to really talk about, but that's why even storing your passwords necessarily on that phone can be a tricky business, because all I also would need is, and I'll even show it to you on my phone because I don't want you to pull your phone up. All I need is to go to settings, and then I can go to Face ID and passcode, put mine in, and that's where all of my passwords are actually stored. It's in what's called a password list in here, and so you can actually go into there and find all of them that are stored. So not to get too technical, but that passwords list is not really protected very good on that phone. It's just it would be a text document is all it is, and it's not very well protected. So we're going to talk about maybe a better way of protecting things than just letting your phone do the work for you. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's better than a notepad, but it's definitely not the best.
What if you had them on, like index cards, but they're in code?
Well, so if
I mean,
somebody
I know
knows,
what they mean, Norm knows what they mean, but someone looking at it wouldn't have a clue.
yeah, I mean, I
possibly.
understand that's probably better than just a regular one. But my question is, could somebody take a picture of those, and given enough time, do you think they could figure it out? Especially
It's
with
hard to say.
artificial intelligence?
I don't know.
I would probably say yes, because if there's any logic to it, artificial intelligence probably could break it within about a minute or two.
Okay.
Would you agree?
I would say that would be a very good guess.
When you talk about passwords, are you referring more to bank accounts and that type of thing? Or if you had passwords to Macy's, to Cal-
Absolutely everything.
Everything?
Everything.
Because you're just-
And here's why. Another case that I worked, one of the problems that we're having in law enforcement is social media accounts don't do a great job of preventing hackers from getting in. So how many times have you seen on your Facebook news feed somebody post something that's completely inappropriate? You're like, there's no way Greg Boyer would post that bad picture. Well, it's because Greg Boyer's account was easily compromised, either through a bad password or honestly, Facebook does not stop people after multiple attempts being used. So when I say passwords, I mean everything from your Macy's account to your bank account to Social Security. And the reason for that is all of that information is connected. So you have an email, if you have a Macy's account that has an email, right? So it's probably a Google or a Yahoo would be my guess, right? Well, if I can figure out that Google or that Yahoo account, I can actually try to get Google to forcibly reset your password. And if I can get Google to do that, now I can go into your activity and your browsing history and see every single one of your websites that you have username and passwords with. That easy. That's how your Macy's account can get your bank account hacked.
I guess my question is, am I in danger?
Oh, we all are.
He's gonna tell us how to get
No,
out of it.
because my Facebook account was completely taken over, and there were no clues that they gave that unlocked it
Yep.
at all, and requests through chat to Facebook for help,
Probably did nothing.
nil.
Yep, they won't do anything. They don't care.
No,
They-
so is there a danger in that right there?
Well,
That
yeah, somebody's
they've
pretending to
opened
be.
the door?
Yeah, in some aspects, yes. My suggestion is, stick tuned to the class. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to help yourself, because the age you live in your online identity is almost as important in some ways as your actual identity, right? What you're doing on Facebook can really get people in trouble from a legal perspective, or also they can just gain information from elsewhere. And part of that's because now places like Facebook, they have banks, they have credit cards. And so we wouldn't want you to have your financial information compromised that way, okay? So, great questions. Identity theft. Has anybody actually ever had their identity stolen here?
Not, when you say identity, I don't think it's identity, but we have actually had, been a victim of fraud.
Yeah, same type of thing.
Same thing.
So yeah, in just the United States, 5.7 million total things per year, with almost over $10 billion lost. That's a lot of money, right? I hate to break it to you, I'm looking around the room, I think I might be the youngest guy here, not trying to be mean or anything, but your demographic is the most vulnerable.
We're suckers,
Why do you think you guys are the most common target?
because we have the most money.
You do have the most
Typically.
money.
We're more trusting.
You are very trusting. You are the most trusting generation, by far. So, one, they know that, but then the other part too is they understand they can lose you in the weeds a lot quicker than they can the younger generation, right? So for example, my wife, she has, her grandparents are 91 and 89. And we were at her house, this was probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and a bad guy calls up the phone, and Harold, being 91, the nicest guy you've ever met. I don't think he's even sinned once. He's such a great guy. He picks up the
Yes,
phone.
he has, John, come on
Maybe just
now.
once or twice. It was when he was like 2.
Yeah.
But he picks up the phone, he goes, hello, and the guy on the other line goes, Grandpa, is that you? Well, the nice thing was, Harold, even though he's kind of struggling in his older age, he has no grandsons. He only has granddaughters. So he immediately was like, Grandpa, but you don't sound like my granddaughters. And I'm like, Harold, give me that phone right now.
Oh, boy.
So there's a lot of scams out there, and your generation tends to be the one that struggles with it the most, simply because of your age. So that's why we're talking a lot about this. Now this is where things are going to start getting interesting, okay? We're going to take a little bit of a dark dive into what, has anybody ever heard of Tor before? Yeah, that's what I thought. Tor. So, all right. So this might help you a little bit more. When you guys get on Google, what do you guys call that when you get on Google? The internet, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if I told you there was 3 internets out there, and you guys only go to one of them? Would you believe me?
Yep.
Sure.
So have you ever heard of the dark web?
Yep.
Yes.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
It was funny, I was talking with Pastor Oak, and I was telling him we're gonna go to the dark web, and he's like, don't do anything illegal. I'm like, it's not all illegal. So, we're gonna go through what's called the Tor browser. There's 3 types of internets. There's the regular web, the dark web, and then there's the deep web. The deep web would be like infrastructure that's common to a certain company, like IU Health, for example. They have information that is internet-based, but it's only through their servers. You have to have access. The dark web, you guys can go home and do what we're about ready to do. It'll probably be a little challenging because it's kind of difficult to navigate the dark web because there's no Google for the dark web at all. But one of the things you guys are going to start seeing is data breach information. So when I say a data breached information, does anybody know what I mean by a data breached information? What do I mean by a data breach?
They have gotten into somebody's, like you said, IU Health, somebody, and gotten my personal information.
What if I were to tell you every single American's information has been data breached at some point in the last 5 years?
I would agree.
And here's how we know that. One, the 2 largest medical insurance companies have all had their entire data list completely taken, which covers 110% of America. So do the math, we are all covered. If you've had medical insurance in the last 5 years, your data, your name, your date of birth, your SOCH, probably your email, and most likely your home address is online for very easy purchase, literally for less than $1. The other thing on there is your credit cards. I'll ask you this question. When you go out to eat, and you pay with a credit card, right? Because we always pay by credit cards. How do you pay? Do you give the waitress your credit card?
Not anymore,
Why not?
because I got my information, when I give my credit card to a waitress, it went away out of my sight.
Absolutely.
And I got a phone call a few days later from my credit card company that they had an unsuspecting or
Yep.
unusual purchase.
Yeah, and they do that all based on location data. That's how they do that.
Right.
Because you probably have that credit card tied to a bank, right?
No,
Well, you have to have it tied to a bank, a credit card.
well,
And that phone you have right there is an Apple phone. And that bank you're using, if I were to tell you that bank that you use, whatever bank it is, pays Apple money to know where you're at. Did you know that?
doesn't surprise me.
Does that bother you?
Wow.
Not much you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it. Well, so I have Regions, for example. If you open up your Regions banking app, there is nothing on the Regions banking app to show you where your location is, right? Does anybody else use Regions? You use Regions? Anywhere in there can show you your location.
What's
They show you your location that you're at. Like shows that you're in Lafayette, Indiana.
probably.
There's nothing that shows you. I promise you there's nothing.
Okay.
NIP.
But the reason Regions is tracking you, Chase Bank is tracking your location, is because when your credit card got used in California,
That's where it was.
because that's where they always go, they said, hey, we see your phone that's tied to that bank account is in Indiana, but it's being swiped in California. That's physically impossible. And that's how they know it was a scam. Does that make sense?
So my situation along with what we're talking about was in 2010. I used my debit credit card or debit card at Camille's for a sandwich for like a meal, and it was like a year and a half later. Regions fraudulent department called me to tell me that they were suspicious. It was actually used in New York at Fifth Avenue, and
Because they've seen you've never gone there before.
I have never stepped foot in New
But
York.
think about it like this, when you've gone on vacation, why are they not saying, this is really suspicious? She's in New York.
They will if you don't put travel alerts on your credit card.
Yes.
If you're stateside, for the most part, they don't worry about it anymore.
Oh,
Because
they-
they're, if
no,
they
they
can,
do.
well,
I traveled
Ours
one,
does.
does it
a
really?
few years ago, I left my car in Indianapolis to get service, flew to DC for a conference, came back that day from DC and went to go pay for my car, and they refused my credit card. And
Really?
I'm
Well,
like,
they may not have you linked with a location account.
and so
May have been a
this
couple-
has been probably 10 years ago. So then I
Oh,
always
so
make
this wasn't even
yeah.
available, yep.
so
Today, if you hop on a plane today,
it's good to put travel alerts. I
it's
think.
not a bad thing. I agree with you 100%. Like when Pastor Byers travels all over the country, the reason he never gets those is because his phone is with him. If he left his phone at home, they would go,
do
look,
it. So
Steve
now they're
looks like
tracking
he's
the
in
phones.
Lafayette.
Huh.
So yeah, these banks are actually paying Apple and Google, because Google runs Android, lots of money to know where you're at so that they can see if you're getting scammed before you even know it.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing, not if you're a libertarian.
So have things gotten worse or better since the first, like my victim I was in 2010, and then shortly after that, it was when Target was, and then I think
It's
there's
tough to
been
say
more.
because it's always a cat and mouse game where these people are working really, really hard to get your stuff, but then we're always a little bit behind and we get it in front. It's really is a cat and mouse game. So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
You know, but we are trying, and the goal is to try to get people, and nothing's perfect. You know, what we're gonna see is there's really, you know, we're all at the mercy of this new system, and nothing is truly perfect. So what you have here is actually, I went to Tor. Anybody see what the bottom of this website's called? This is from Biden's Cash. I didn't make up the site's name. All right. So this is an example from Biden Cash where, for example, this person, this is their credit card, this is their rating, expiration, this is where they live in the United States. Because what you don't want to do is, if you're in California, you don't want to buy somebody from Lafayette, Indiana information.
Right.
They'll tell you, and this is how much money it'll cost you, $25 to get their credit card. We're going to go there here in a little bit, and I'll show you guys how easy this is to do. But I didn't know if I'd be able to get in here, so I wanted to make it. So data breaches are becoming a huge problem, but you can't, please don't go do it. Don't Google how to get people's credit card information. The FBI is probably reading that one. Okay. So, all right, we're actually gonna take a little tour to the dark web, show you guys how this all works. So, you guys ready to have fun?
Yeah.
So the first place we're gonna go is Horizon. Now, I don't think you guys can probably read it too well, but you guys know what a URL link is, right? Like www.google.com. Can anybody read what the URL is up here?
No.
No, it's just a bunch of random numbers and letters with .onion. So the thing you need to know, and I'm not asking you guys to ever go here, you can't just find these places. You have to know where you're going, either through, I do a lot of undercover work, so we actually do this stuff. But this looks like something you would see on the regular web, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? This is a place where we can go buy people's credit cards. I am ready to order right now. You see that right there?
Yeah.
So this is all for buying people's credit cards. So if you've ever heard of people getting hacked or ransomware, has anybody heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
I was showing Steve this one a little bit before you guys started. This is a Tor website for, it's a little blurry. Let's see if I can maybe zoom in just a little bit to make it a little bit better. This is a Tor website for buying malware or ransomware. That's it. I have to click on the program that I want. Let's say I want the no name. Click it right here. Got to pay probably $500. And then I have myself my own nice little ransomware. And I can send that to Faith Christian School or Faith School as a person, like I'll just say I'm Pastor Byers or P. Byers and send it to one of the ladies. And all I need her to do is click it one time. Am I right?
That's pretty.
That's all I got to do. I got to get one
Simple as it
person
is.
to click it at one time in the network. And that's it. And that's how I get my ransomware, right here. So I can go to different websites that can sell them, Dark Leak Market, Industrial Spy, or Marketo. Obviously, once again, if you look at the URL up here, you're probably not going to guess that one, right?
No. Ransom.
Yeah, it's got the first part of it.
First
You might
part's
get that.
ransoms,
But everything after that, you're probably not
It's a
guessing that.
mess.
So,
So don't copy it then.
good luck. We're getting out there.
Right.
How about this one? This is on the dark web. Who's that?
CIA.
You guys know the CIA runs its own dark web? What do you think the purpose of that is?
Catching
To
people.
catch 'em.
Actually, it's not. CIA uses this to communicate with people. So obviously our government has a lot of spies and people overseas. And so they have their own Tor browsing website. So they use that to help people. So we're gonna just talk really quick. What Tor actually stands for is it's the onion routing network. That's what it is, the onion routing. And what it does is, you guys don't need to write this down. It pretty much just allows people to hide where they're at and not be able to get access. Most places, like where Steve works at IU, if I have an IU Health computer, I try to get on Tor, he should try to block me. Faith does the same thing.
It will automatically block you.
Well,
And let us know where to find you.
But the reason we were able to get, and Faith does the same thing, I brought some internet for myself to log in, I have a hotspot, so we did that here. But one of the things I wanted to show you was how easy it was to get credit cards, emails, personal information, ransomware. If I know where I'm going, less than $100, I can ruin somebody's life. I don't care whose life it is. That's how easy it is. So one, be careful what you're clicking on. That's where we're going with this. Has anybody ever gotten an email from somebody they may or may not have known?
Mm-hmm.
How about an email that looked like from somebody you knew?
Uh-huh.
That even gets worse, right? Because you were saying with your mom, well, it looked like it was from Comcast, right? So we're gonna talk about using some stuff to kind of verify it here in a little bit. Before we get there, we'll talk about some common scams. We talked a little bit about the relative one. Anybody ever got a call from the IRS?
Yep.
Yep.
How do you know that one's already fake?
IRS never calls you.
They are actually prohibited by law from calling you. Did you know that? The IRS cannot call you.
Isn't that the same with Medicare or different medical facilities that, because I get calls like that all the time and that I have this pain and they have this remedy and all this, that, and the other. When I was first put on Medicare, I made the mistake of giving information and then felt extremely stupid.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I didn't have any repercussions from that.
I don't know about the Medicare side, to be honest with you. Would you?
Medicare
But I
won't
don't
call
think
you.
that-
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
We don't deal with a whole lot of Medicare scams. It's usually the IRS.
Okay.
A common one that they're kind of combining relative and IRS, like, hey, your grandson got arrested. He's not wanting to call you, but I'm a bail bondsman. I'm gonna help you out. So they're kind of pushing these two together.
Medicare, you'll typically will have a local representative that will
Right.
work like a caseworker
Yeah,
for that.
run downtown
Yeah.
and all
But
that.
you won't just get random out of the blue calls.
Okay.
Yeah. But my mother-in-law will get these really official looking letters that say Medicare approved, you know, remedies for this kind of stuff, and you open it up and it's, you know, check the box here, no payment necessary, send it in. Well, the fine print down here that most of us can't read is, well, that follow-up will be a payment. You're not gonna get something for free.
Right.
There for a while, there was this thing going on about these walkers. You know, Medicare approved, no payment necessary, check here, sign here, you don't get a walker, and you've just given up like 15 payments of, you know, like $20.
And I cringe with the TV commercials because
Right.
I'm like, I know
Right.
that I have to go downtown to talk to a representative if I have any questions and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I don't, but I get calls all the time,
Yeah.
cause we still have a landline, but I don't.
Yeah, I hang up on
Yep.
It sounds rude.
Don't hang
but-
up, don't answer.
them. Just don't answer,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Don't
there's
answer.
another part of this I will just talk about. Well, you almost have to be rude these days.
Yes,
Like, I'm not
that's
trying to
what's
be
hard too.
The fake charity scam. Hi, I'm with
Right.
the
The
first
police.
I'm with the first responders.
Police
These
call
bullet-
all the
Here's my
time.
favorite one. I am with so and so. We're trying to raise money so the police can have bulletproof vests. Will you send us money? One, there's a federal law that requires us to have them for the last 30 years. So the government has to give them to us for free. So two, just be realizing there's charity scams after everywhere. So the thing that I usually tell people that struggle with charity scams is the Lord bless you with the best charity in the world. Give your money to the church and let the pastors figure out where it needs to go. You know, if you're really struggling with it, you know, call a pastor. So the tech support one. This is one of my other favorite ones. Hey, we were scanning your network the other day, and we saw that you had a virus. Anybody ever gotten that one? That one's become pretty common again. It kind of dropped off. We'd like to help you out. We're gonna send you an email. This is your email, right? No, that's not it. Oh yeah, that's right. We have your other one down. We're sorry. And then they send you something, and hey, we need you to click on that. And what did you just do? Give them access to your
Open the
computer.
door.
So just realize there are tons. I can't go through all the scams, but there are so many out there. It's almost hard to go through it. Who does this? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What about access through Facebook? Because I've gotten friend requests that came under a woman's name that I knew from a church in Florida. And it was like, hi, I've been trying to reach you. How are you doing? And I wrote back some information, not personal, but kind of some general stuff, and never heard any more until months later. Well, same kind of thing. If you accept a friend on Facebook, can they get into your?
No, they can't. You know, Facebook is a standalone application, usually on a mobile device like a phone or a tablet. Now, if they send you a link and you click on that link, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
But as long as you're just using the Facebook messaging app, you're fine. Now, what I would tell you about social media is it's easy for anybody to be anybody. So for example, I'm not struggling with my identity, but I'm a 14-year-old girl online because I'm trying to catch bad guys. So, but I have pictures that we use AI technology to make. I can take a picture of my shaven face and I can look like a 14-year-old girl. So be wary of who you're accepting a friend request from.
Yeah, I refused it.
Because there are more fake social media accounts out there probably than there are real ones, to be honest with you. And even people at this church have their spoofed. The real word we use is spoofed. They get spoofed accounts all the time. I can remember one of the ladies, Mrs. Bosma, because I was the one who told her about it, and Mrs. Wallace, Jocelyn Wallace. Just last year, she had a lady spoofed her account because they sent me what it was is they sent me a message. I can't even remember, it was some just lame message I know Mrs. Wallace would never have sent me. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is obviously a fake account. I called Jocelyn up and she's like, I don't have Facebook right now. So just realize when it comes to social media, be very, very
Had that happen.
skeptical. You gotta be okay with being a little rude to people because you don't know if that person's real. You have no clue if that person is truly who you think they are. And the other thing is there's a lot of open sourced information out there that you can gain most people's where they live, phone numbers, emails, that people can put that technology together and go, man, that really just sounds like John. You know, I bet that's gotta be John. So just be very careful of who you're letting in your circle, even with social media, okay?
The other thing too is when you accept a friend request, they now see all your friends.
Yes.
So now they have access to all that. Now, the problem with Facebook is sometimes they like to randomly reset everybody's security to minimal standards. So you may have yourself set to friends only or friends of, like who can see your posts, who can communicate with other friends. So there's public, there's friends only, and there's friends of friends. So depending on where you set that, you could open the door for that person, that bad actor, to now access pictures and everything as deep as your friends list. So then they start scraping all that additional information. So it may not be specific that, hey, you know, we're just looking for you. We've got all your 180 people friends or whatever it is. So.
Yep. So yeah, be very careful with who you accept. The best way to tell is, do I know somebody that they know as well?
Right.
So for example, if you're friends with passerbyers right now on Facebook, which if you go to this church, you're probably friends with passerbyers. Well, if all of a sudden passerbyers sends you another Facebook friend request, do you guys think it's real? Probably not.
I've had something unusual happen that I didn't know if it was just somebody being nice or if it really was a scam. I've had
You're
phone calls.
thinking it's a scam?
Well-
It probably is. How's that for
But
thinking,
it was a
Brenda?
phone call from somebody, which, you know, they kept calling me. And so I finally called them back and said, you know, you've got a wrong number. And so, oh, you were so nice. By the way, where do you live or something?
Yeah.
You know, some question about you personally. Is that a door opener?
Absolutely, it
Scam?
is. 100%.
Yeah, it's
One,
a phone call.
so
If you think an inkling of it, it probably is scam.
So there's
That's the
verified
challenge
and
today,
unverified phone numbers. So right now I can put your name into the internet and I might get 3 potential phone numbers for you. Some of them are verified, some of them aren't. Well, having a verified phone number that we know comes back to you is very valuable to a bad guy. So I would just say go with that. Go with the if it feels bad, don't do it. 2, if you don't know that phone number, definitely don't pick it up. But even the problem now is becoming, I'm not going to get into how to do this either, but I can take anybody's phone number, if I know that, and I have some program I can put into that, I can use a voice over IP program, I can make it look like anybody's phone number in the entire world. And if I have about 8 to 10 seconds worth of your voice, I can make myself sound like anybody through AI. So that's part of the problem that we're starting to encounter is just everything's being spoofed. Everything's being faked right now. And it's becoming very, very challenging. So just be very wary. I'm not trying to scare you because we're going to get into how do we move. It's kind of like the gospel. We got to learn the bad news before we learn the good news, right? So there's some bad news here, but I promise you we're going to get to some good news. Okay, guys?
Real quick, I have a 24-year-old son who tells me and my husband that we're just over paranoid as far as using credit cards and even your debit card when you go to buy stuff. I actually got an Amazon card last year or a year before to use the Amazon card rather than a debit card, credit card.
Yep.
Because I felt more secure to do it that way. And he's like, Mom, things are just so how do you, my question comes is, how do you train a 24-year-old?
Oh, man.
Because, I mean, he's
Well, but think, how much money does he have?
he does.
There's the thing, he doesn't have any money, so he doesn't care. Now, not care, but he doesn't have any skin in the game. If I'm only worth $200, I have nothing to lose. So Mom, go shopping, go do this. Well, if you've got money, then you've got more skin in it. And that's where I deal with financial clients. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So, but you've got skin in the game. He doesn't.
doesn't.
And I'm not saying anything bad against your
No,
husband
no,
or your
I understand what
son.
you're saying.
But his mindset is, come on, what's the big deal?
Is that the generation then pretty
Yeah.
much too? Because I know
Yeah.
it's like, he's an only child, he's kind of
Well,
like,
we're all a little selfish, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when
Right,
it comes to
selfish.
credit card, well, one, my personal view, just so everybody, this is a little bit off our notes, but one, credit cards are generally better than debit cards
Right.
because
Don't
you're
use your
spending,
debit
because
card.
you're using bank's money as opposed to yours. So if that credit card does get, scammed, you actually by law do not have to pay that.
okay,
But if it's your
Yeah,
debit
don't
card,
use
that's your money.
debit card.
right.
So, but here's what I would also tell you. You probably don't need more than 2 credit cards.
Okay.
If you have more than 2 credit cards, you probably have too many. The reason I say 2 is I have one main credit card I use. I pay all of our bills off of it, but if I lose it, I want to have one backup card. So I would probably say don't have more than 2 because almost every credit card company out there, especially if you're doing okay in life, they will give you as much money as you want. If the banks are always wanting to give you more credit because they want you to spend more. So when I hear people have 10, 11, 12 credit cards, well, I'm doing it for the points. I hear that, but I would also say you're putting yourself out there. So my view is have one credit card that you use because that's the bank's money you're spending, not yours. This is also if you're responsible, not struggling with overspending. That's a whole different topic. But don't use a debit card because the debit card is your money. So if I'm the bad guy and I steal your debit card at the restaurant, you're on the hook for that money. Now, if the bad guy steals the bank's money, sorry about your luck, bank, that's your money. You figure it out.
I just talked with the bank today, and she said that if I use the debit card, use it as a credit card, not a debit card.
Still
I would
doesn't matter.
I would still use it as a credit. I would just go get a credit card.
It still does not matter because that debit card as a credit card opens up your whole bank and savings account,
Okay.
and it's all your money.
Okay.
And they call it a credit card, but if it's a debit card, you don't want to use it.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
I also froze my credit, so nobody.
You're gonna get
can
that.
go out-
You're beating me to my
Okay.
punch.
Yeah, we got a lot on our agenda yet, so let's hold a lot of this so we can keep
Okay.
moving with the content
Well,
tonight.
I will say, because you brought it up, my one advice I give to everybody, you can even do this to your adolescent kids. If anybody, I think I'm the only one who's got
Right.
kids under 18. All of my kids are under 10, and their credit scores are frozen. My first thing I would really want to get to you guys, if you don't take anything away from this class, go home and tomorrow contact one of the 3 credit unions and just have your credit frozen. Do you need another credit card? Probably not. Do you need a higher credit card? If you have $20,000, do you really need $30,000? Probably not. If you put a credit lock on one credit card agency, TransUnion, Equifax, it doesn't matter. It goes for all 3 of them. And if you're a bad guy trying to open a credit card in my name, immediately shuts down. So that would definitely be my best suggestion of anything to do. Is that all? If you take one thing away from today, please take that away. Because even if you screw everything else up, you can't get that screwed up. I got a thumbs up. I like it.
Yes.
So
All right,
so clarify. So you Google Equifax's phone number,
Yep, you can do it. You can either call them or you can do it online. Doesn't matter.
and then you're freezing your credit.
Yep, you're freezing the credit. So it's not that you can't increase your credit score. It's no more credit cards can be taken out until you contact Equifax, TransUnion.
So what if you though go like get a loan for a car? It's not going to go through, correct?
It will not go through until
Okay.
you let them know about it.
Okay.
And then
But-
you can open it up for just like so many hours.
Yep, you can
Right.
say, hey, Equifax, I'm going to Bob Rorman and I'm buying that truck from 2 p.m. to 6. There's going to be something.
Did not
So yeah,
know.
you can adjust that. It doesn't have to be permanent, but what it does do is if somebody tries to open up a credit card in your name, because your name, your date of birth, and your social are on the internet, what it does is it blocks them from doing it. Because anytime somebody wants to open up a credit card, by law, they have to contact one of the credit reporting bureaus. And they say, oh, Greg Boyer cannot open up a credit card. And they go, the bad guy goes, well, why can't I? Well, because there's a credit freeze. And he goes, done with that account. Not even gonna mess with it.
And if you're married, you should have your spouse do it as well, correct?
Everybody should do it.
Everybody should do
Everybody.
it.
My kid's 9 years old and he has his credit frozen. Because once they have a social security number, you can freeze that credit.
Interesting. Okay.
Because your 9-year-old doesn't need a
And
credit
it
card.
Right.
it doesn't take a long time to unfreeze it if like you.
10 minutes.
Okay, so that's separate then from they advertise the lock?
Yeah, you can pay a company a lot of money to do this, or you can spend 15 minutes and do it yourself.
Right.
Okay, without paying it.
Without paying any money. You can do this all yourself for 15 minutes. And I promise, and if you don't even want to do it, you can just call their phone number.
So do they verify your identity when you call them then, John?
Well, they will, so, I could freeze your credit if I wanted to.
Oh, I don't, you probably do. But I'm just making sure we don't call and give somebody the wrong information or
Yeah,
don't
just-
know
yeah,
who we're
just
calling.
look up Equifax or TransUnion, those are the two easiest ones, I think. TransUnion makes it really, really quick.
I'll put the links in my follow-up email, that way you'll know it's
I just
legit.
wanna make sure I go to the right place.
All right, who does this? Bad guys, most of the time they're overseas, Asian countries, or Americans who need more money. They are not your friends most of the time, but they sometimes can be. Other times there are people or family members who have access to your accounts. I've worked a lot of grandkids steal grandparents' information accounts. I hate to say that. One of the more common ones that people don't talk about a lot is, hey, grandpa or grandma, you need help with your bills. Let me get you set up with an online account. I'm going to give myself access to the account, not tell you about it. And then I'm going to start taking some money as a charge fee. Just be aware of, I'm not saying all your grandkids are bad or all your kids, just check your bank account and be aware of who actually has access to that, because they may give that information to somebody else as well. All right, bad news. Let's get to the good news, because like I said, it's like the gospel. We have some bad news and we need to get to the good news. Help, what should I do? One, always verify information. If somebody calls you and says, Mr. Boyer, we need you to verify with us so we can send you some information, what should your answer always be?
Click.
I probably wouldn't answer it if I
Probably
make them tell me
Yeah.
what my address is if
Yeah,
you
you
really
don't-
wanna know it.
I'm not verifying nothing with you over the phone. Have a nice day. These people don't need you to. Now, there are certain places, for example, like if you're calling a medical doctor's office and setting stuff up, that's very different. But if you're getting cold called out of the blue, never verify information.
Hang up on them and then call them back and you call the number you know that's correct.
Absolutely. Never give personal information over the phone, even if it's just a little bit. It's really easy to kind of put things together, and a lot of these bad guys have networks where, well, I'm going to try to get this much information out of Tim, but I don't want to get too much because he'll get spoofed. And I'm going to get a little bit from this guy, and then they combine them. So just be careful what you're giving out. Only talk to verified phone numbers. I think I've seen everybody here has an Apple phone, it looked like to me. Everybody had an Apple phone, right? I was checking them all out because you guys all have them out. Apple will actually tell you if it's most likely a spam call. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
It will also tell you if it's a verified phone number. So my suggestion is take that for truth. Apple actually does not want you to get scammed. They really don't. Ignore calls and text messages from people that you don't know. Let them leave a voicemail. Bad guys generally don't leave you a voicemail, right? So you can be rude from now on. This is my blessing. Be rude to some people when you don't know who they are. Passwords. It is the key to your account. Who here changes their password more than once a year? Because you have to. Who here changes their password more than once every 2 years? Who only does it when you forgot it and you had to reset it? How did you do that? Through your email, right? So what do we talk about bad guys being able to find your email out? See how important it is to have your passwords? My best suggestion is use things that are called password managers. Does anybody know what a password manager is?
They set up the passwords for you, and then they store them. iCloud does that, right?
So yes, Apple does. We're going to look at what mine looks like through Google. I'm assuming you people aren't going to break into my account. I'm not going to use my regular one. I'm going to use I have a Google Police one, so we won't go into that.
Should I not be streaming this?
Huh?
Should I not be streaming this?
No, you're
Oh,
fine.
okay.
There's nothing on here. This is a Google law enforcement account. There's nothing. So what we're going to do, guys, if you look on here, anybody ever used Google? Does anybody use Google's password manager?
No.
Okay. So I would highly suggest actually using Google's password manager, and here's why. So we're going to go into password manager. So Google password manager. All right. This will store all your passwords in what's called pretty much an unbreakable, well, I don't know if I have it set up right now. So, I don't have any stored in here, but if I did, Google would store those for me. I can actually, I'll just switch to this one real quick. I won't type in any of my stuff. But what Google will force you to do before you ever do it is they will make you actually, so if you look right here, these are all the passwords that Google stores for me. Okay? I'll log into my ATF one really quick. It doesn't have anything on there that you guys can see. It will actually make me re-enter my password into Google in order for me to view what that password is. Okay? So my suggestion when it comes to managing your guys' passwords is Google is probably, and I'm trying to make it easy for you guys, Google is the best place to manage them. Okay?
So John, explain though, what, you said use your password. Which password is that?
It'll
Explain
be-
what this really does. 'Cause
You have to use the password on your computer or the device that you are using. So for example, if I am using the password manager at Google on my iPhone, I have to use my biometric face or the passcode on my phone. If I'm using it on my computer, since I have this face set up on here, I have to use my face or the passcode on my computer. That's the only way it'll work. So the good thing about that is you have 2 levels of authentication, through Google and through the computer. Google, every time you use a Google account, it says, hey, we've not recognized that device before. Verify through using your YouTube app, okay? So Google is actually probably one of the best places, I would say, for our clientele here to manage your password. And they will give you a randomly long, probably 12 to 16 number alpha digit type thing that you will not be able to break if you're a bad guy. So that would be my suggestion, is start using the Google, and I'm sure Steve could probably put a link in how to use Google's password manager, because it really is, I personally think, the best one out there. Do you use that one?
I do not use that. I've used other ones, but that make really cryptically long accounts. That's one I, just for the, as a hospital, we try to shy
Yeah, you probably can
away.
use it at your hospital.
Yeah,
I don't use that for my police stuff either.
not
but,
personally, no. Yeah.
But my guess is everybody here have a Google account? Does anybody not have a Google account?
I don't know if I
Means
have
do
one.
you have
You
a
have Gmail.
Gmail
You
email?
have
Yeah,
Gmail.
Gmail.
Do you have a Google account?
Okay.
Everybody has a
I did not
Google
realize
account.
that either.
So my suggestion is everybody has this. It's a free service. It's probably the best one out there. It really is. Google does a really good job. When you do use your passwords, please don't make them your family names or date of births. Please don't. Okay? Also use what's called 2-factor authentication. Does anybody know what 2-factor authentication is? Greg, tell us what 2-factor authentication is.
You enter it and then your password, then they're either gonna send you a text or an email that you have to verify with some numbers.
Most websites, banks, even Facebook, you can have that set up as 2-factor. I would highly encourage you, if you have Facebook, if you have Google, if you have a banking application, please use 2-factor authentication. It's so important. If you have a banking application on your phone, your bank most likely offers this service for you. If you don't know how to do it, contact your bank and they will be more than glad to help you getting that set up.
Sometimes I have it through regions, I know I have it because they've sent me a text and they give me
Absolutely.
a code, but then there's other times when I go into my banking, it doesn't always do that, but what you're saying is to have that set up all the time.
You can have it set up all the time. When you're accessing it sometimes is on a different computer or phone?
Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah, so a lot of times, what most websites will do is if it's the first time you ever logged into that account from that machine, it will require that. The reason for that being, whenever you log into an account, that website is asking for some information. One of them is called an IP address. That's kind of like your mailbox.
Okay.
The other thing is like known as a MAC address, and the other thing is the computer and the build model. Well, if Regions Bank says, I've never seen these informations before, that's them going, I'm kind of suspicious of what you're doing over here, and so they want you to prove you're the good guy. So that's just the bank's way of saying, I've never seen those 3 numbers before, so we'll make you prove it. Now there's also sometimes, for example, your bank may be set up, hey, every 6 months, we're just gonna make you prove it. I would encourage you, and I would encourage everybody, you can have those applications say, every time I log into my bank account, make me prove it. Make me prove it every time. Because if you're the good guy, you'll always be able to prove it, right? And the same thing for Facebook. Hey, you know what? If anybody wants to log into my Facebook, you need to send this email to my email account or send this text message to my phone. That's the best thing you can do to prevent yourself from being hacked. Because I know you guys have to use 2FA all the time, right?
All the time.
Greg, I'm sure you guys have to all the
Some
time.
places are, yeah.
It's a little annoying.
Yeah, but,
Right.
right.
So are you saying, John, that if you go to a particular website, you would have to have a different password whether you're going on your phone versus your laptop?
Yeah, so those are all different machines. So for example, you've logged into your stuff probably 100 times on that phone. If I give you my phone, that website should never have seen this before, right?
What about my laptop?
Well, the first time, yes. You should never have seen that before. Well, then those companies, they store that information. Okay, we've seen that IP, we've seen that MAC address, and we've seen that machine build number. We've seen those before. So then they don't usually ask it for you again.
Right.
So that's one of the main ways they prevent people from overseas from knowing if you've been truly hacked. The first way is through what's called your IP address. That's kind of like your mailbox for the internet is what that is.
Question, or just to clarify, Susie, and I want to know, because she's talking about the password part of it, not the two-factor authentication.
Right.
Yeah, generally
So if
speaking.
you do the Google, you have to have two different creative passwords to be able to access your passwords?
Well, no, Google will store it, and every time you use it, then yes, it'll be on that machine, will be different. So Google,
But I have to have a password to get into the Google
Your-
password
your-
manager. That's the same.
that's the same as what your password is to your email, but then in order to view those passwords, you will have to use the password either on your phone or your laptop. Because what Google forces that computer to do is it goes into like an administrative setting, is what it pretty much did. It's a little complicated, but it says, hey, we're gonna force you to show us you're the administrator of that device. If you can't, it's gonna time out. A little complicated, but as long as you have the password to your phone and to your account, you'll be golden.
But, okay, my phone, his phone, and our two iPads and our computer are all linked. So my passwords that will be in this password manager would apply to each of those devices?
Yeah, it could,
Okay,
as long as you're using the same email
right.
or Google account. But if you'll notice, what's my last slide say? Don't link multiple accounts.
And that, by that you mean like,
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when you start linking things, if I get access to one, I can access them all.
You're talking about like husband and wife linking there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or even, I mean, it gets kind of tricky. Because
Okay.
I get there's a convenience thing in life. I totally get it. So like, for example, my wife has access to all of my personal emails. She can't have my police stuff. But if for some reason her Gmail got compromised, she has access to mine because it's a linked account. Now we do that for transparency in our marriage. I tell all young people, you guys all need to share stuff. But like the police side of me goes, because my wife's not as savvy as I am. I get a little nervous that she's got access because I don't want her to click on something and then my Google account gets hacked. So just beware. I get it. It's very convenient. But linking accounts can be dangerous. I'm not saying it always is, but just be careful because let's just say, for example, you click on, you think it's a family picture you got sent, turns out it's not. Now all four of those devices are susceptible. Does that kind of make sense? So just be careful when you're linking accounts.
man.
I know. Sorry. This is the good news. All right, so what do we do? First thing, you always call local law enforcement. Any of this bad stuff happens, generally there's some guy who's kind of a nerd who can help you out. The next thing we would ask you to do is to go to ic3.gov. That's the Internet Crime Complaint Center that's ran by the FBI. They won't generally reach out to you, but they will reach out to us. Also, the BBB. Anybody ever use the Better Business Bureau? They do a phenomenal job of doing scam trackers. So if you do ever get taken advantage of, or if somebody ever does try to take advantage of you and you don't lose that money, we would ask still that you would contact the BBB. And then if you lose some really big money, FinCEN is another great place to go. That's where the police should go. You don't need to necessarily go there, okay? All right, when's the last time you contacted your bank, your financial representatives to make sure they have your correct information? Anybody called their bank lately and said, hey bank, I just wanna make sure you got my right phone number, my right email, my right everything? Why is everybody saying no?
Someone
do
will
that to
verify
me.
it.
Huh?
They do that to me.
Well, hopefully they do. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Mine just
How often would we need to do that if none of that data has changed?
Yeah.
If it hasn't changed, then probably not a
Okay.
whole lot. I would just verify it.
Okay.
A lot of times you can do this over the internet. If you have an account with them, you can verify these things. But if you do change your phone number, please let your bank know,
Sure.
right? If you, it only, like I said, I want you guys to also be using less emails. This is a question I could have asked earlier. Does anybody have more than 2 email accounts? Just one? Most people just have one? Good. 2, probably a work one and a personal one.
yeah.
There are places that make.
Oh, I have 3, I'm sorry.
You can tell the truth yet or not?
Second.
So make sure they have that updated information, right?
I have.
Another thing, make sure if you move, because some of us sometimes will move and we'll forget to tell our banks about that. But also you can let your banks know who trusted points of contact are. Did you guys know that?
That is a new thing on most of your financial things, is having a trusted contact, and I can't tell you how important that is to have.
Greg, why is that important to have?
Because as a financial representative, if I think, I'm gonna pick on you, Susie, I think Susie's not doing well, and you're wanting to withdraw $50,000, I need to know a person I can call to say, hey, is your mom, is she okay? Is she something going on? Legally, I cannot do that otherwise. I can't stop you from taking your money. But I will tell you, and not to get on a soapbox, but I'm probably he's younger than me, but I'm probably the next. I deal with older people. You people don't think any of your children know anything. Most of my clients, their children are the last ones they want to talk to.
Yeah, I get that.
And they're not bad kids. They just don't want to talk to their kids because, well, that's Greg Boyer. He's only 60 years old and he's just my little boy, is my 84-year-old mother. And I'm like, so who does she, and luckily my mother does talk to me. So please make sure you have trusted points of contacts on bank accounts, retirement accounts, because it really is tough. And I've had to call some family members because I had a gentleman that was going to Parkinson's that he was calling me, and his wife was completely sane, but she had always done what her husband told her to do. And he's over there saying, Sally, we need to withdraw that $50,000. Okay, sweetheart, we'll withdraw it. And I'm like, he is not well. I had to call the children, and he had Parkinson's and had not been diagnosed yet.
Well, the
And-
other reason it's good too is Greg does my financial stuff for our life insurance as well. Greg knows me well enough to know that if I called him up and made some goofy decision that didn't sound like John, he's probably going to call Jen next, right?
Right.
So just realize, and this is going to sound crazy, these banks don't want you to lose money. These credit cards actually don't want you to lose money because a lot of times they're on the hook for it too. So that trusted point of contact that you can give to them is almost invaluable at times, and I would really encourage you, make sure it's somebody you do trust, but then you have to trust them, okay? And put those in there, all right? All right, finally, we're gonna make that computer work a little more for you. Does everybody have an actual computer at home, or does most people just have a phone?
Computer.
Most people here have a computer, probably. All right, we're gonna talk about what your actual web browser is. So when I say web browser, what I mean by that is that's the little thing that you click on down here that gets you to the internet, right? My best suggestion for you guys is pick one and stick with it, okay? And the reason for that is they really can do a good job of keeping track of what you're doing. I'm not a representative from Google, but I will tell you Google is probably the best one out there. Firefox is another great one, and then probably Bing is okay. Once again, these all have password managers on them, and they will do a great job of not allowing you to initially go to what's known as a harmful site if you click on one. Yep.
What about Safari and Chrome? Because those are the two common ones that I know the church uses and we use.
Yeah, I'm gonna say stick with Google. Chrome is a byproduct, obviously, of Google. I'm not big on Safari, to be honest with you. Just, I think Google does a better job. That's all I'm gonna say.
So is Chrome Google if you have Chrome?
Yeah, that's a product of Google.
Cause I have Chrome, I don't have Google other than that.
Yep, you're fine, you're good there.
Google
You're good to go.
Yeah.
It's Google Chrome.
Yep. Bing is ran by Microsoft, so it's not bad, but they do a lot of data mining on you, so I'm not a huge fan of it, and you don't have access to your stuff. But they all have password managers that can help you guys, and then they can also help you out if they think you're going to or clicking on a bad thing. And then the final thing is, if you're not for sure about some of the stuff that's getting out there, don't click on those links, all right? There's a lot going on. All right, Guir, you said you guys have 4 devices. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
DuckDuckGo, is that another one?
Why are you using DuckDuckGo?
Because
Because
they
I
said
heard
to.
Google was just sucking all our information and sharing and doing all that.
Absolutely, they're. I mean, if you really want to know how Google, how much do you pay for your Google accounts?
I honestly don't know.
You pay 0 most of the time for it. So what does that mean you are? You're the product. Just think about it. If it's free, you're the product. You got to come to terms with that. If you're getting a free service from Facebook, from Google, that means you're the thing that's being bought. Okay? Google does do a lot, we call it data mining, where they're putting parts of you, they're doing it through obfuscated numbers, they give you a randomized number and they track what you're doing and they sell your stuff for ads. That's the basic gist of how they make money. You have to kind of make a decision, who am I okay with making money off of me with? That's the nicest way I can say it. Google gives you the most power to control your abilities to see what's going on. The other companies, like the reason I really don't like Safari, Apple makes a great phone and they make a ton of money off of selling you. They do the same thing off of your internet usage and they will totally not give you any control over what your settings and what you're able to sell or not be sold. Google, it's the biggest guy on the block, but it also gives you the most control over your stuff. Now, DuckDuckGo DuckDuckGo is a web browser. It's used for anonymous web browsing. But once again, I'm going to ask you this question. What does it cost you? It's free.
It's free.
So what does that mean?
Same thing.
Oh,
You're the product.
yeah.
Just realize that. You're always the product in this world when it comes to free stuff. Okay? There are some browsers out there, like, for example, I use the dark web Tor browser quite a bit. I don't want you guys trying to do that, please. DuckDuckGo is not bad, but they're still data mining off of you. They're just doing it in a different way than Google, but they tell you, we're not collecting your information, but that's impossible. You have to make money, right? Nobody's doing this for free. You just don't get any control over what they're doing with your information. Google gives you some control. So, and I'm not a Google rep, just so we're all clear.
Can you use Google Password Manager on another, like DuckDuckGo? Okay, so you have to be on Google.
You have to be on Google.
Okay.
Yep.
Gmail.
All right, you guys have 2 phones and two iPads and computers. Manage your devices. Those electronic service providers, that's Facebook, and I'm sure nobody here has Snapchat, but Instagram, stuff like that, they have the ability to still get on your old things. So for example, in the last couple of years, you may have gotten a new cell phone, is that correct? Well, that old phone number, if you guys remember, the way they verify you is either by IP address, and you probably get home on your same Wi-Fi router every time, so that's going to be the same. But that computer or that MAC address, those are going to be different, but they've already been recognized by Facebook. So that old phone that you just so nicely handed to that young kid at AT&T and you said, here's my old phone, you're assuming AT&T doesn't do anything with it, right? Well, those old devices, Facebook and your banks have recognized, be careful when either you're turning in old phones that they're not getting factory reset, because those devices can be used to access your accounts because they're already linked with it. Does that kind of make sense? There have been plenty of scams that have happened because you go to Verizon and some 19-year-old kid says, you look like you don't know anything about anything. Let me transfer all your data from your old phone to your new phone, and I'm gonna take care of it. And then 3 weeks later, your bank account's been hacked. Well, how did that happen? Well, it's because guess what? When you gave him your phone, you gave him your passcode, and then what did he do after you left? He went into the back room, typed your passcode in, went to your farmer's bank and took your money out, or sold your information. So be aware about what your old devices can do. They can still access your account because those accounts have been recognized by that device.
Even if you like the device, can they still get it?
No, we can, but they can't. Not the kid at Verizon. So yeah, what I would do is, if you're gonna get a new phone at Verizon or AT&T, and you turn that phone in, make them factory reset it in front of you.
So how do they do that, and how do you know?
They know how to do it.
So it goes back to what he just said earlier. I have a son that just did that, and I have no clue if he did what you're suggesting that he.
That he factory reset it?
Yeah, I have no clue if they did.
Well, if there shouldn't be any data left on there at all.
Would that be in the SIM card, or is that totally different?
SIM cards don't store data. Well, they can technically store a little bit of data, but generally, if he has an iPhone, there's actually there's hardware on there that actually stores that. And if you factory reset it, there won't be any phone numbers, there won't be any contacts, there won't be any emails. So, like for example, when my wife recently got her new phone, the guy's like, okay, well I'll take that back and take care of it. No. You reset that right here.
So you want the AT&T tech to do that in front of you?
Oh yeah, they know how to do it.
And then you look at your phone, you tell them, I want to look at my phone again. You open your phone and you look at your contact list, you look at your mail, there should be nothing there.
Nothing there.
So I'd have to ask my son if he did that. If he did not do that, what would be a step that he would need to take?
Well, how long ago was this?
Just yesterday.
See if he can get it back just to verify.
Okay.
If not, go get a credit lock.
But I also feel like he's gonna be like, Mom, it's not a big deal. It's not
Yeah,
a
because
problem."
everybody wants to be trustworthy, right? Until you're on the hook for $50,000. So yeah, my goal is when you guys get rid of that iPad that you break, or your grandkid, you let your grandkid have that, and you break that iPad, please don't just throw that iPad away.
Right.
Make sure you factory reset it or absolutely completely destroy it. Take a hammer to it, throw it in the fire, do it something like that, because that device,
Target practice.
that device is still recognized by them. Also, don't save login information on computers or devices that you don't frequently use. So for example, if your computer does go down for a little bit and you borrow one of your friends', or you go to your kids' house to log in, don't save that information on their computer because obviously they can get it. And then always read emails from, I say ESPs, but no, pretty much Facebook and Google about your bank account login information. If I were to take Greg's phone right now and log into my Google account for the first time, I should get an email from Google saying a new device is trying to log in. If you ever see that email from Google, from Facebook, from your bank, please don't ignore it. Read through it. And if you're like, I have not logged in, there will almost always be a click here to help or call the phone number. Please actually do it, because I can't tell you how many times I've actually had people say, well, I got this email from my bank where they said somebody logged in, but I just didn't read it because I get 5 emails from my bank a week. Well, I don't know what to tell you because they tried to warn you. The warning sign literally was there. Finally, be careful what you post. I think we came to the realization you all have Facebook, right? So Mark Zuckerberg's making a lot of money off you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't post personal information. I have a question for you. How does everybody know it's your birthday on Facebook and tell you happy birthday? Because you put it in there.
As Mark told me to.
Now, Greg's my friend on Facebook. How many times you ever told me happy birthday on Facebook? I'm not bitter about it. You never have, because Facebook doesn't know my birthday.
How do you get out of Facebook? How do you?
Yeah.
You can.
How-
Yeah.
We're all trapped.
You really are.
That's a
I don't know
follow-up
how
question.
you delete it, because I had an account once, business, and
There's a
I.
process to that.
There is actually a process to get rid of
It's
it. It is.
tough.
They do not want you to do it.
Yeah.
Once again, there might be a helpful video to post in there. But if you want to delete your Facebook account, to
It's
actually delete it,
Yep.
It is very challenging, and they really want to make sure you're sure, and they ask you that question about 10 times. So you can, but just realize it's not easy.
So where do you go for the information to find out what the
Facebook will help you, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can actually
But if your
download.
Facebook has been
all your
taken over
information
by
before you do that.
somebody,
You're screwed.
Yep.
Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah.
I've actually, so I'll even tell you how. I had a police
Oh, no,
officer I worked with.
Yeah.
He had his Facebook account taken over. I sent Facebook a search warrant for that account and then told them this account was illegally taken over. They gave me my search warrant results and then said, this is under review, and then they later told
Right.
me that it did not meet their criteria. I'm like,
Yep.
What?
I got the same thing.
I'm a police officer, and you just got a legal search warrant from a judge, and you told him to pound sand, pretty much.
Yeah.
So good luck. Sorry.
Wow.
So you have somebody, and this
We
is
have the
why
same
your
thing.
password is so important, and your managing of these things is so important, because Facebook honestly won't help you. We kind of all have to be in that we're going to have to help each other type thing. Okay? Please don't put your home address there, because bad guys can find that out. Vacation plans. Please don't tell people you're getting ready to go on vacation. My home is free.
Right.
Please come break into it.
Yeah. That one baffles me.
Or
Okay.
posting daily pictures while you're out of town.
And then this is kind of tough, but delete an old account that you don't use. Please do. Okay? It does take a little bit of time. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to actually go through that whole process. But please do it, because if you don't, man, the difficulties it can cause for you. It is tremendous. But you can do it, but it does take about 10 minutes to do it. Facebook does not have a nice big delete button up there. They make it pretty
You
hard.
do not.
So are you saying on that, like, I brought my old phone, so, and I have pictures, and, I mean, this, I don't even think it has anything but music, but you're saying to delete everything on this, since I don't use the phone at all? I like-
Absolutely, I wiped all of it.
So how do you do that? You just,
So factory resetting that is something that you can do. Apple will let you do that yourself. Once again, it's not easy, because you need to have your iCloud account and your iCloud account password, so hopefully you remember what that is.
Sure.
So,
I think it's the same as this one.
you hope so, but is your password changed on it at all?
I don't know what the password is on this one. I do this, the newer one.
So yeah, this is where that password manager can be really important for us, right?
Right.
But if for some reason you're just like, man, John has really just spooked the fire out of me, do you have a drill at home? If you have a drill,
Probably.
just put a drill right, do the Tom Brady and just put a drill right through that thing.
And it's tough to put a drill through it. I mean, it's not always easy, so you got to be careful when you're putting a drill through, because you got to make sure you've got it stable.
Well,
And-
doesn't a hammer work just as well?
Well, you got to make sure you get it all the way
So
through.
yeah, you gotta make
Just
sure.
because you break the surface here doesn't mean what's inside's broken.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is I don't have any banking account on this one that I
Do you have an email with that?
think so, yeah,
Is your bank tied to your email?
probably.
So
So it is there.
you could get to it.
John's scaring us good.
So
So now this is why, I can go home and tell my husband he's right, because he does not like social media. He does not like
Oh,
Facebook
absolutely.
or anything. He wants me off of it ASAP.
yep.
So
But if you don't know what you're
Go home and
doing,
say you're right.
I'm not saying you don't know, but I mean, it's like, I go to some things and I don't feel comfortable with it, so I don't go any further. Because again, it's kind of like you said, you got that phone call, and it's kind of like, if there's any question in your mind, don't do it. That's like phone numbers. Don't answer the phone.
Back to the password manager, you only really have to remember the password to get into password manager.
Yes.
That's the only one you have to
That's the
remember.
one you gotta know.
Okay.
Yeah, because all of my
And make it
passwords
a
in my
tough
password
one.
manager are literally 16 digits. They're random, and I have no clue what they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Google does.
Okay.
If you've got a bad memory, you don't dare write it down?
With biometrics now, that can help out a little bit. You know,
Face.
your face and your iPhone right there does have biometric settings that you
Yeah,
can
I
have
know.
for it,
I think
and you
so.
can have that set up as your password manager on a device that does biometrics as well. So yes, you can. Just realize biometrics are a little easier to hack than an actual passcode, but that's a whole nother ballgame.
So make it a long phrase. making a phrase.
Thumbprint's even worse, to be honest with you. So there's just less data that the phone actually needs to have. A face is better than a thumb, and a passcode is better than a face.
What if a spouse needs to have access, like Norm would need to have access to my phone or my computer if I was,
You can set up multiple biometrics on
You
each
can?
device, yes. You
Okay.
can set up
I didn't know
2,
that.
3, 4, 5 faces on, I think you can have 4 faces on an iPhone.
okay.
So you just gotta get his
I didn't
nice
either.
ugly mug on there and just start taking the whole picture and he'll do the whole thing for you.
Okay.
And I would encourage you, find somebody that you trust that knows technology.
Right.
Like say my 84-year-old mother, she gets an email or a phone call, she knows, she calls me, I never complain about her calling me, with,
Oh, no,
she
that's
did the other
fine.
night with this
Go on, follow-up
stupid
notes.
email, and she couldn't send me the email because I think it was a junk email because she kept saying, I sent it to you, and I said, Mom, it's junk, and I said, you call me anytime to ask me because you end up feeling stupid. Like, well, I should know better or I shouldn't do, but have somebody you can trust and that knows technology. I have a good friend of mine that's 15 years younger than me that's an IT guy that I call him for stuff and say, okay, what does this work, doesn't work? Because I don't know everything either.
Right.
But it's overwhelming, and then you've got new things that come out.
Right.
You know.
Changing so fast.
And it all changes, and we get to where we don't like change.
Right. Well, and one thing too, I know John will attest to is the cyber criminals, the bad actors, are always 2 steps ahead.
Oh,
I mean, we're even as an organization like a hospital, we have an entire department dedicated to cyber forensics, cybersecurity. We always have to be prepared for day zeros. Something that's just brand new, nobody's seen in a while, and we've got to respond to it today. Obviously, our larger organizations are a lot more of a bigger target than individuals, but one individual could be a payoff, could be a payday for what they're looking for. So, the couple things real quick before we wrap up. There's a lot of handouts I gave, a lot of good content in there. I will. There are some little how-tos. One of the things you may want to look at doing, also checking out the link, is you can actually go into your phone and it will tell you. You can find out if you have breached phone or breached passwords or potential breaches.
Yep, that's great.
So this is a great tool that actually, if you go into your settings, go into passwords, and you go into security recommendations. My demonstration I did here, I had 101 risks, and it could be anything from detected a compromised password, but you got to make sure. Actually, I'm sorry, you have to make sure that detect compromised passwords turned on. Again, we're going back to the same iOS version. This is actually back in 15. So this still existed back in iOS 15.9 and still does exist. And it will tell you if you're using a password, what websites you're using it on. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you can raise your hands how many use the same password across multiple platforms, right? Because we forget and we want to keep something standard. So there's also content in here as far as what are some good password, if you're going to make your own password and rely on that, what are some good formulas to do so, right? So another area you can do, I don't know if you've done this before. Oh, I didn't bring it up here. I know we are over time. I'm using Safari, sorry. There is a website, Have I Been Pwned? Have you used this at all?
So
Do you
yes.
trust it? Because I know they tell us.
I was actually going to say, I'll take you to the dark web and show you where your passwords are if you want. Because there's 4 main dictionaries, we call them
Right.
dictionaries for this, and this is the non-dark web side
Right,
of it.
right.
But
So
yeah, it's fine.
we've used this. I know the hospital put this out a couple years ago. I've actually benefited from it. It's not a dark web, and there's things on here. It may come back and say you put your email in, and it is legit, and it may say hey, you're fine, but you may not be fine. As we know, we're not fine.
What's PWNED mean?
Come on. All right, there we go. I think it's just
Has I been pawned? Like, have you been sold out, or you're
Yeah.
ready? So
I think it's a Gen X or Gen Z term, I'm not sure.
What are the symbols up there?
That's a winky face.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just a website, graphic they used, so,
Oh, so that's not part of it.
no.
He's
it's
going
not
like
part of
this
it.
to you.
He's
Have
like
I
winking.
been on?
So, yeah, use the content. I'll have a follow-up email with a bunch more stuff. I've got some notes that I'll send out to everyone. And, I mean, like, I think a lot of you, we've just kind of touched the iceberg a little bit. There's so much, and I agree that the terminology changes, even the stuff we hear every day, and we hear on the news, we hear in schools in different circles. It changes so randomly, and it's really hard to keep up. But, obviously, we wanna, be good stewards of our data, good stewards, we're in stewardship month at our church, everything, that we are entrusted with, which is our technology. And I know I wanna be a good steward over, all this little box has in it right now, and it's a lot. You carry your life in this. So I hope the overarching theme was common sense, watch for those things that kind of look like they're suspicious, they probably are. And know that, not that we want to walk around with a every corner something's gonna happen, but just that awareness, This time of year as well, I was gonna say earlier, I got caught on a skimmer. Meyer gas station 2-3 years ago. I put my card in, what I would normally do every time. Didn't even think to check the thing, but it had a skimmer on it. You couldn't even tell. And my card was taken like that. And thankfully I deal with the local bank that is very quick on that. And they sent me an email, they made a phone call that said, could you please come into the office? We have a potential scam. That one, I said, I'll be there. So lunch break, whenever, they said, here's your new card, your other one's, take, good to go. So, yeah.
Steve, I have a question and a scam.
Oh,
The question is, after we finish tonight, are you open to having us call you or email you with questions that relate to what you've been teaching us?
so on that,
Prefer not to.
oh, I love questions, and I will do my best
He's a good guy.
to, with the time that I have. Now, this class is over, a lot of my time now, our FCI series is over, I'll have some extra time to respond. I'm gonna be getting ready to go, out of town myself a little bit, which I will cut that out of the video. But I will have some time, to respond, so yes, please do that.
Yeah. Can you do this class again sometime soon?
I appreciate that.
Same exact class, same thing again.
Because we
To
won't
learn
remember
time with
it.
you.
Because you won't remember, you gotta write it down. Yes, that, we
Don't write the passwords.
don't write the passwords down. We do these typically spring and fall. Fall is usually the more in-depth. I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, I do.
You did a wonderful job, and thank you, Mr. Brandon.
So much to
Oh,
cover.
go ahead, one more.
I got a scam that you're all gonna talk with.
Okay, go ahead.
We pay 99 cents a month for extra storage for
Oh,
pictures.
yeah,
I got a note saying, your storage is full.
Yeah.
We need $3.95 to give you another 50 gigs.
right.
And and it looked real. It looked as real as ever, because it had all the icons and everything. And it had not been for a friend who said, go to your phone and look how much storage you got left.
There you go.
We'd have got nailed.
You got it. Well, we covered that in our first 2
I know,
lessons, I
but-
think.
Wow.
There you
That's what I was
go.
just gonna say, is you've got so much coverage and so little time for
Dude,
those of us who
rough.
are behind the times,
Right.
like me and.
And that's the stress, the struggle of a class this
Yeah.
size. It's like, oh,
So
we gotta
much
just
to
keep
cover.
moving and hope that you walk away with something that's gonna I'm gonna go, credit freeze tonight, right?
Credit freeze.
That's the big thing, that's the takeaway. Everything else is gravy.
Yeah.
All right, well, you've been a great class. Thank you so much. The engagement has been great, your responses has been great. Lots of content. I appreciate it all. So don't forget
Freeze
to.
everybody in your family, grandkids.
Yeah, let's go ahead,
Yeah,
freeze.
I hadn't thought about children though, but I mean, it makes sense,
All right,
but
well,
I
thank
mean,
you all
they
to
can still
everybody
learn
who called.
that name
And, we're
and
gonna
They can steal their
social.
information and then 10 years later do it.
Yeah.
I've had the grand